Welcome to the Everyday Mom Challenge. Today I want to talk with you guys through some dissertation tips about finding your gap and aligning your research study. I've been working with friends who are in the program. When you start at different times, you're on a different course trajectory, and so I have people that I know that are from the prospectus stage all the way in past their second residencies and into their AQR preparation. And so one of the one of the biggest challenges that my chair and I discussed that can happen with research, and it happened to me, is that you're going into your program and you're thinking, I want to study this. So you get your mind set straight on. So for example, I wanted to study prison ministry. When I first started, they would always ask us in our earlier classes, and I would say that I felt like God had led me to research in that area. I wanted to look at recidivism, and well, bottom line is that I didn't know anyone in the prisons. I knew that it would be very difficult to get all of the approval taken care of. And one of my earlier professors told me, unless you really work for state or federal prisons, I would not study that just because there's so much that you have to do with IRB. So I was told that early on. So I was like, okay, I will not even talk about this topic anymore. If somebody asks me, I'll say, as I go through articles, I'll continue to research and God will lead me. So I was a single mom at the time, and I would read articles here and there, and I still didn't understand what I was looking for until I hit my second residency. Not my first now. My first, I didn't get that firm grasp of knowledge. The second residency, my chair said, but where's the gap? And so here we are sitting at our table, and my friends will know, Gwen, Mark, if you guys are watching this, I mean, y'all are past this stage, but y'all remember we were sitting at the table, and even Angie was on the other side across, and Kim was with us, and Lisa, and we're like, the gap, okay. And we start looking. They're like, go where it says future recommendations. It's not about what I want to research. It's not about my necessarily 100% passionate interest either. It's what a researcher has said that needs to be studied. And I went, oh, well, if somebody would have told me that before, we've taken care of this. So I start going and researching and mining. And guys, it takes a lot of work. So I will give you a tip. Number one, make yourself a folder. This is gap folder. Make yourself a folder that says Chapter 2 Literature Review. And if you already kind of know what kind of themes that start standing out as you're reading, and once you find the gaps, start delineating those out too. But let's say you pull up an article, you're interested in the educational system, you're interested in literacy, you want to look more at achievement gaps, and you go, okay, what do I do? You go into your search engine, whatever you use for your library or Google Scholar or whichever one you use, and you just start finding articles that are within 3 years. And I'm going to tell you why you need to do 3. Because if you use a very old article and your dissertation takes 1 year to 2 years, then you've just messed up with maybe your college has a 5-year rule. Because the gaps need to be current. Because if they're not current, maybe that's not something that's trending right now that needs to be in research to begin with. And if you can't find multiple gaps, then there is also an alarm, because that's letting you know you might not find multiple research articles to support a 30-page or more literature review. So you got to think like really strategic early on. So when you pull up your article, let's say you're looking for maybe comprehension, or and you go straight to the bottom of a peer-reviewed journal article that's within well, you can go 5 years, but just be careful because really 3 is the best tip. And you scroll down to the bottom and you look for the limitations section. Sometimes it's in there. Sometimes it'll say, which is very nice. Thank you very much for all of you researchers that do this. They say future recommendations. But you've got to still look for the words. You got to say further studies should be conducted on blank, blank, blank. Future studies in the field should address blank, blank, blank. You find those words. More is needed in blank, blank, blank. So when you find it, you go, aha, I found the gap. Don't get too excited. Get like that much excited. Because once you find that one gap, what you should do, take in if you have the PDF option or Google Save option, we have a Google Save option now in our library, but just download your article, and it's going to go down here to the bottom right here of your screen. Download your article, and then when you're in Google Drive, upload your article back into your Gaps folder. Go ahead and save it. And if you're super smart and organized, like I did not do this part, which I should have, is go ahead and build you up an Excel sheet or Google Sheets, and go ahead and cite that article. And do not call it ones that you're using, though. You need to have a separate one, because you may not end up using this one. But what if you do? You would already have it cited with the URL, everything that you need. If you have the DOI string, whatever it is, just go ahead and cite it, because you won't have to do all that extra work later. Like, me, I had to do that. So you have your article, number one. You have your citation. You have it already put in your Google. You're not going to lose it. Don't stress out. Now you got to go looking for article number 2 and article number 3, because you need to see what researchers are saying and what prevalent themes are going to be addressed around this topic. So let's say you can't find another one. Well, you got something that maybe you can use for your literature review. So you go back in, you take and you move it. You move it to your Google folder that said Chapter 2 Literature Review, and you start back with your gaps. So after you've got 4 or 5 gaps, then you need to start asking yourself questions. You need to go in, you need to say, first, is this hit within the 3 to 5 years? We know it has to be a peer-reviewed journal. We know that it has to have an exact recommendation or further study there. Then go ahead and pull the line out. You can highlight it. You can just type in on a Google Doc sheet or a Word sheet, it said this, this, and this. And go to your next article. It said this, this, and this. Next article, it only asks further studies in this. So that way you have it all lined up with your authors and the article recommendation, the author's recommendations, the researcher's recommendations. After you do all of that, it would also be wise, because you have to show qualitative and quantitative studies. And you have to figure out, now that you have the gap, what's the best way to address the gap? So you look at what the researchers have done. And I think one of the hardest things is trying to understand, do you want to do qualitative or do you want to do quantitative? But really, we kind of jump the gun with that. We really need to go back, and we need to talk about alignment first with just the gap. We got to find the gap, guys. And once we have a solid gap, you go. So for example, mine was religious practices. So I found multiple articles, religious practices. I narrowed them down to the gap. I made my list out. My earliest was 2012, but I did say that was foundational work that really sparked my interest into this, which is true. Dr. Pett's work on early childhood, religion, and the single mothers, all of that started making me start thinking, okay, I really ought to check into this avenue. So I did use his, but I didn't use his as like the primary gap. I used those that were 2015 and older, but I always went back and I gave Dr. Petz props because I said this was where it all started, and this got me researching into this area. So if you get all of that, trust me, the rest of your paper is going to actually start to line up and make sense. And that's what your professors are talking about with alignment. You can't have alignment if you don't have a solid gap. If you don't have a solid gap, you don't even have anything to research to begin with. It's just us walking in thinking, well, I want to research this. And it can't be like that. And maybe if somebody would have told us this earlier on, we wouldn't have had so much heartache and stress. But you know what? We know it now. And so once you realize how to find the gap, jump on it quickly. Because once you have it, you will just be amazed on how everything else is going to fall into place with your paper. You'll understand what your research questions then could be, what type of methodology you're going to use in your design. Then you're going to say, okay, well, I need to find a survey or a questionnaire for this, and it needs to match back into these research questions. The research questions are from the gap. So for those of you who may have started and you didn't quite get that understanding about the gap, it wasn't told to you in that way, then you build a lot of work. The challenge is going now and finding that research that supports the work you've done. And if not, you're just going to have to tweak the work. You're just going to have to go back and tweak it. But at least you have a basis. You have something to start with. But sometimes we're going to have to let some of that go in order to get the dissertation done. Remember, some of the best advice I ever heard, the best dissertations are the past. They're done. And then later when you're out there in the researching field and you want to study X, Y, and Z, go right on ahead. But while you're in the template formats and the guidelines and the rubrics and you're just a student, you're going to follow these protocols because it's for your own good. It's going to get you from step A to step B to step G, which is graduation. So just keep that in mind while you're looking for the gaps. Don't get discouraged. I actually thought it was fun because once I got the trick down to go to the end, go to the end, go to the end, you could knock out, honestly, guys, you could knock out like 20, 30 articles in an hour looking for gaps. You just got to go fast. You got to work. You got to get dedicated. And you got to find the gaps. I've got questions. If anybody would like those, I can add those to the bottom. Just comment. And I've got questions that can guide you on how to find the gap and things that you should ask yourself as you're planning out your sheets. But I wish you guys the best of luck. I'm going to be making some dissertation videos as we move along. But I just woke up this morning thinking about how I didn't know who it took somebody to pour that knowledge into me and to speak it in such a clear way that it went, oh, I got it now. So I hope that can help you too. All right, you have a blessed day. I'll see you later.